Thank you, everybody. I want to call a meeting of the Concord Finance Committee to order. And please note that we are being recorded in a virtual mode using the Zoom technology. So to get started, I'm just going to offer a few words of kind of rules of engagement in the new Zoom environment. We are being requested as a committee, when we take votes, to do it as a roll call. That way we aren't violating anything, and it can be recorded properly as a vote. So I don't know if we have Anita, our record keeper, on, but to take minutes for us, but that's okay. So the way I'm going to conduct roll calls is I have an alphabetized list in front of me of the membership, and I will kind of run through that and call your names and look for a vote. So if we need to take votes or take motions like minutes or whatever, that's how we're going to have to conduct that. So let's jump into our agenda. Our initial thing is what? Excuse me. Go ahead. Sorry, did somebody have something to say? Phil? Anybody?
No.
Oh, okay. So our initial agenda item is to review minutes as available. We have 3 sets of minutes tonight. So are there any comments on the minutes? I have one comment on that. I think it's the March 5th minutes. But the person who I need to be on this call isn't on yet, which is Carl. Dee, go ahead.
Yep. This is for the February 6th minutes.
Okay.
On page 2, the 3rd paragraph, 2nd line from the bottom of that paragraph, there is there's an attempt at a word here, condominiumizing, which is, I could not find it in any dictionary. So I thought instead of using that word, we could use condominium construction would be allowed.
That sounds entirely reasonable.
Okay, and then on page 5 of those minutes, with the new topic being Capital Planning Task Force, the first word under that is Dean reported. I think it should read Mr. Banfield.
Banfield, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Any other comments on that set? I'm having some trouble with my own computer at the moment, so I'm sorry to be a little distracted. Okay, I think we should defer because of the roll call, nonsense. We'll defer acceptance and have a slate of minutes. So let's look at the next minutes. Are there any other comments on the next minutes? Let's see. What are these minutes?
February 13.
My computer is just completely broken, and I left my iPad downstairs. I'm sorry. I believe I cannot open on my desktop the set of minutes that I wanted to comment on. I believe they were the March 5th minutes, so I can wait. Okay, so February 13th. Any comments on February 13th?
Okay.
Nope. Hearing none. We'll move on from them. March 5th. Any comments on?
Yep.
Yep. March 5th. Yes.
Yes. On page 8.
We can see you.
Oh,
The first paragraph, it says in the 2nd line, Ms. Ortner responded that the task force is trying to be responsive to its charge. And I think I wanted just to give a slight clarification at the end of that sentence. It would read, to its charge, by first defining a very large project in monetary terms.
I I have no issue with that, Dee. The only thing is it's supported by the video evidence. And I wanted to say this, was that actually what you said, or is it just something you'd rather inject into the minutes? That's the only question I have.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because we did talk about, yes, we had to define a very large project. I'm not sure why she stopped the sentence at that point.
Okay.
To its charge. It just doesn't
okay.
give anything.
It's fine. We can accept that. I think that's fine. I'm just trying to be careful that we're not, coming back to the minutes and saying, this is what I prefer to have said, or this is what.
No, it truly was part of the discussion that wasn't included in the sentence.
Okay, it's fine. All right, so then we can, any other comments on the 15th?
No, that's March 5th.
I'm sorry, that was March 5th. So on March 5th, and I'm very sorry that I cannot open my minutes. I tried to do everything virtually and not print everything out, and I wanted to have them on my desktop, and they will not open. So I'm very sorry about that. There is a paragraph in which we were discussing with with Mr. Ohanian.
Hey, Dean,
Yeah.
would you like me to share the screen so you can see the minutes?
It's really fine. It's very simple, Brian. I think we can find it, and if
Okay.
Anita,
It's just an option. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't know what the problem is. Somehow there's some interference between trying to open Word docs at the moment and running this app, so I don't even know why that would be a problem. Anyway, my comment was at a point in the meeting, and it's in the minutes. I took a poll. We found that 6 members of the finance committee had been on the committee when the Ohanian proposal was first brought to the town. And then I asked how many of us remembered there being a tax relief component to approving the measure. And the minutes reflect that everybody, all 6 members who had raised their hands, did not recall it. And my recollection of that is that Carl, on reflection said, I think there was something that I recall about some tax relief. And the minutes don't reflect that. So that was my only comment. And I haven't had a chance to go back to the video record to prove that out. But I do think that that's a very, it's an important point. I was trying to make a significant point that none of us knew, and the rest of the community, how are they going to know? And I do think that Carl said something like he recalled, and he's not on the meeting at the moment, so he can't back that up. But let's put that in abeyance. What do you say, Dee? Yeah,
Dean, I do agree with what you're saying. I remember where he was sitting, and he did say that. Okay,
so we should have the minutes reflect that upon reflection, like all 6 initially said they could not recall, but upon reflection, Mr. Packard said that there was some indication in the early going of that there would be tax relief required, something like that. I think we should need some sentence like that. So now I need a motion to approve all 3 minutes as revised. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved. Mr. Hickling moves that, and a second?
Second.
Second by Mary. Okay. So discussion. Okay. All in favor of approving all 3 of these? It's not going to be done that way. I'm actually going to walk around my screen and just call everybody out. So Ms. Hartman.
Yes.
Mr. Guarriello.
Yes.
Mr. Patel.
Yes.
Ms. Ortner.
Yes.
Mr. Hickling.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Swain.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Ms. Zoll.
I have to abstain because I just got on the meeting. So
Okay.
I didn't hear the rest of it.
Okay. Mr. Rubenstein. Yes. And I also vote yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yes, and 1 abstention. Okay, and that is a motion I so declare. Okay, So now what I'd like us to do is move on to looking at the set of things that were that I sent in the email, which is we're going to try and make some decisions in the next 15 minutes regarding all the evidence we've heard on the warrant articles that went all the way through until the previous hearing. So we've heard all the evidence. I'd like to see if we can arrive at some kind of a consent agenda to recommend affirmative action on a subset of these kind of quickly. We have some that are not going to be easy to get through. So we're going to have to talk about those in another context. And so let's try here. Let's see if I can get my list together. I had made a list and maybe it will display. I'm hopeful. Let's see. Where is it? Back up. Sorry for my slight delay here. Wasting valuable minutes. Okay. So I think that we can put on the consent calendar for a motion of affirmative action, meeting procedure, ratify personal board classification actions, classification and compensation plan. I will skip number 6, which was the personnel bylaw amendment. We may need to discuss that. Accepting the provisions of the, for the revolving funds or whatever, the retirement board. I'm sorry, that's the COLA base. We probably don't want to do that.
No, we don't want to do that. Not
No.
7, Dean.
Not 7. So the use of free cash, which is 8. We'll pass on these budgets for now and the capital. The revolving funds, that's the one that I think is probably non-controversial, the use of the revolving funds and unpaid bills and debt rescission. So 3, 4, 5, 8, 14, 8, 12, 51, 52. Can I get a motion on that consent agenda? If anybody wants to take something off, please raise your hand and we can discuss taking it off.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would vote that we vote a consent agenda for Articles 3, 4, 5, 8, 12, 51, and 52 as a slate.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on those? And the vote here is for affirmative action on that consent calendar. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Okay, Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Mr. Guarriello,
Yes.
Mr. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Ortner,
Yes.
Mr. Hickling,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Swain,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Zoll,
Yes.
Ms. Rubenstein. Wade.
Your mic is on, Wade, or your mute is on.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, I vote yes. We have a unanimous decision on the consent. So that is a motion, I so declare. So we can now spend 12 minutes trying to figure out what else we might be able to knock off here. Are there any that anyone would like to propose that might be a brief conversation?
I'd like to propose that we discuss Article 9, which is, I think, the budget adjustment, and that's the result of our decision to not approve the reserve fund transfer. And our reasoning at the time was we thought this amount should be decided at town meeting and not by a 15-person board.
Right.
So if possible, I would recommend that we remain neutral on this particular article, because that was the whole point, if you remember, of our conversation about not approving the reserve fund transfer to begin with, because we thought it should be decided by the town. So that I'm just putting it out.
So we would vote ourselves to take no vote, or it's kind of like a non-position.
Right, exactly, because I think that's consistent with our earlier action to not approve the reserve fund transfer. But that's
Yep.
one person's opinion.
That's fine.
So Dean, could I interject here?
Yeah.
I think it might be viewed odd that the Finance Committee is not making a recommendation on a financial article. I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think your charge is to make recommendations on financial articles.
So I thought our purpose of doing this was to get it in front of the town so that they see what is happening rather than the 15-minute committee members just blindly saying yes to it. So I always was under the assumption in my head that we would get it to the town and then we would have a recommendation of, yes, support this, because we don't want to see it go further down the line and have, you know, unpaid bills going forward, right? Because, I mean, what do we want in the long run? The best for Concord, right? Which is what the Finance Committee is charged to do. So I thought our reasoning was to get this in front of the town so they see it happening.
So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Isn't no action a recommendation, Carrie? I mean, or do you mean it?
So no action generally means that you're in opposition to the article. In other words,
Isn't that still a recommendation though?
Yeah,
I understood Mary to say to remain neutral.
yeah.
If
To make
I
no
think
recommendation. Fundamentally make no recommendation.
Question?
Yes, Dee.
Number one, we don't have a second to the motion yet, but if you,
Well, we don't really
I
have a
will
motion.
second
We're
the
trying to-
motion, but I have a question.
Okay.
And my question is, if town meeting doesn't occur before June 30th, and we go into the new year with, you know, 1/12 of what the current budget is, et cetera,
Right.
what happens with that specific article if nothing has been decided about it? If they need the $225,000 before June 30th, then we haven't decided to do anything about it. And no town meeting has occurred. So I just don't know if money is available or what happens to that, Carrie.
So if we don't have town meeting before June 30, we would likely bring this back to you as a year-end transfer, both to the Finance Committee and the Select Board.
So when would that happen?
That would need to happen in July at the latest. We would likely bring that to you as soon as we knew that town meeting wasn't going forward. We would bring that to you.
And to clarify that, Carrie, when you ask for a year-end transfer, one of the things that can happen is you can transfer the reserve funds into this legal account. That's a thing you can transfer, right? So in effect, it's the same result, only we've waited. Am I wrong?
Yeah, right. I wanted to know what would happen, but is there some sort of strategy then in terms of what we say now? If we know that we can do it before the end of the year, are we still in the position of saying, no, we want this to go to town meeting, so we'd be saying no action at this point? I'm not making myself clear, am I?
Well, I'm not sure how we can make a recommendation on something that is not before town meeting. You know, we're making a recommendation on the warrant article, which the only time that's effective is at a town meeting. So that's what our recommendation would be about whenever it occurs at town meeting. What does the Finance Committee recommend?
So a no action would be construed as a recommendation that we're saying we shouldn't spend the money.
Shouldn't spend this money.
Right,
Whereas
that it should go to town meeting to decide, yes.
It's already at town meeting.
No. No action is
already at
on
town
the
meeting.
warrant article. In other words, we're
It's no action on a warrant article.
that is at town meeting. Yeah,
Right,
it's not that it shouldn't go to town meeting. It's that we recommend no action means we would recommend not passing this warrant article.
Exactly, and that's
Correct.
And I thought what our discussion earlier was, we didn't want to be the people to decide that. we wanted the town to decide that. So
Right.
now if the question before us is, do we think the town should spend the money for this? That to me is a different question.
It is a different question, but that's having
Is that what's
elevated
happening?
itself to the town meeting warrant. It is now the question that we have to
Okay,
grapple
that's the question. I get it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Should the town spend this money on this thing?
got it.
Well, hasn't the town
Yeah.
already
I
spent
mean, the
the
town
money?
owes the money, right?
Yeah, the town
So I
owes
think
the
the
money.
town has to pay it. The town owes the money.
Right.
As a finance committee, we believe in accrual accounting. We believe if they've
Right.
spent it, they owe it. So I think the only answer is you have to support it.
Yeah, so
I-
Carrie,
Well, let me just
correct me
add
if
something.
can I just say one thing? If the town meeting says no to this, it's coming back to the finance committee
Anyway,
for a transfer anyway, correct? Carrie?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So I think it would be weird if we didn't support this.
so the real problem
But
I
it's
think,
a
is that the
question.
town is expending these funds, and now we need to kind of cover our bet. We need to cover our and as Christine points out, we owe it.
Yeah.
So
We owe it.
So, sorry, if I
and
may.
we don't have the capacity as the FinCom to prevent the town from having legal bills flow in.
But we had the right and the responsibility to prevent it coming from the reserve fund. And that's what we stopped. So now there's this some kind of, well, the reserve fund will become the budget transfer and all this other stuff that's going on. But we had the right to stop it coming from the reserve fund, and we can still say that. I mean, and then this other mechanism that will happen that we still have to pay it. But
So is there a cost to deferring? Is there a interest cost, Carrie, to deferring the bills? Are we accruing interest?
No, we're not.
And there's
Can
no
I, can I give some perspective on what law firms do with legal bills
yeah,
in litigation? So the first thing is, my law firm is getting lots of comments from clients that they can't pay their bills right now.
Okay.
For whatever reason. Sometimes it's because they don't have the revenue. Sometimes it's just because, we can't get to the office, which we kind of have a hard time with. But anyways, most law firms are now accustomed to not getting paid promptly. The second thing is, if you're in litigation, you understand that if you run over a budget, you may not get paid.
Right.
So this law firm, which represents lots of municipalities, would understand that if we are running over the amount that has been authorized by Concord Town Meeting, we may not get paid. So we shouldn't feel like this is an obligation we've incurred or the select board incurred because they asked them to do this work. It's up to, I think it's up to our board to decide whether we think this is money well spent. And law firms understand. I may not get paid if I run over my budget. So let's not assume that this is something that's set in stone.
So we have 2 minutes to see if we can make one more business decision here this evening. So what we need a formal motion on the table with a second. Right now, we've just been having a discussion about which item to discuss, and we don't have a motion and we don't have a second. So can I get a motion on Article, what are we talking about here?
Nine.
Dean, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that the FinCom support a positive vote on Article 9 at town meeting.
Okay, can I get a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Christine seconds that. Okay. So
Under discussion?
more discussion, but we have 1 minute
Just-
at the end of the meeting.
Yes, I thought our strategy early on was that we said no when we were first asked, that we wanted it to go to the townspeople so that the townspeople would have, for town meetings, so that the townspeople would have the opportunity to weigh in on this. Always knowing that the third thing that could happen is at the end of the year, they could come and we'd take it out of the reserve fund because we would have to be obligated at that point. So I'm not sure why we are changing our strategy now and saying, let's just support the article at town
So
meeting.
I agree. And the reason I would be in opposition to this is because I thought we were taking a position of principle here that this is an expense that came 3 times to us after we asked it not to, and that it should be judged by a town meeting vote. That's not to say that bills that are owed will not get paid. There is a
Right.
mechanism to do that. The
Right.
question is whether they do it with the FinCom's approval or not, which is why I'm opposed.
So I need a motion now to put this on the table, and we need to take it back up because we're down to the last minute and it's time to start the 7 o'clock public hearing. So can I get a motion to table the item and we'll take it up? at
I
the
move to
next
table
meeting?
the item to our next meeting.
Second,
Second.
Okay, all in favor on a show of hands? We're just going to show of hands. We got to move on 1 minute. That's unanimous. That's a unanimous, yeah. We're tabling that. Okay.